Emergency managers lead the coordination effort during disasters and emergencies, and the Emergency Operations Center, where we're at now, is where all of the different agencies, nonprofit, non-governmental, and volunteer organizations come together to coordinate and to try to solve complex problems. All of the organizations who are here today come together regularly to build relationships and to look at our plans and see how we can strengthen those plans and strengthen our processes so when we do have a disaster, we're better able to manage that disaster as a community. It's about 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve. And there's a kid who is playing with his new drone that he just got. It crashes, and as it crashes, it hits a power line, creates an apartment fire. We started the year of 2024 with an exercise with Northern Water. It was a collaborative effort to talk about how a wildfire could impact the water systems. And the EOC was activated for that exercise. And then in the summer, we had the Alexander Mountain Fire, which actually was the exact same scenario, which was a fire that impacted the waterways. And we had to try to work through those cascading impacts.
So this is the planning section. They truly are looking at the next operational period, what's going to happen and how do they respond to it.
So when there is an emergency, I'm usually out here in the EOC to try to coordinate with our partners at LEDA to put maps up on the screens here, as you see. And then my team also stands up the damage assessment systems.
If any emergency in which there's damages, then we'll get the maps stood up by GIS as to where the suspected damage is. The first responders out in the field will give us sort of the gross picture, the big picture of where they think the damages are. And then we'll get our teams out in the field, and then we'll go property by property, look structure by structure to see what was damaged and record it.
Kind of behind us, that is a breakout room, and that is the GIS team specifically. So the GIS team is looking at maps. So whenever there's a disaster, we need to look at critical infrastructure. We need to prepare maps for the first responders to be able to review what's going on in the area. So they're developing maps. And then over here in our cooperative area, what we're doing is we're preparing the evacuation alerts that we may receive that we would push out to the public. So if they need to evacuate and leave their homes, then we are the ones that are preparing those in the computer system to send them out.
So the exercise today was to really try to stress the key functions of an emergency operations center and the cascading impacts of something small that can happen that can then become much larger with crowd control, traffic management, or a number of other issues that come up because of the disaster itself.
In this room, it's a private room where emergency services goes. In there, they have monitors for maps, for seeing dispatch. Then back here, we have kind of our infrastructure folks, as well as a lot of folks that come in from Loveland, the city of Loveland, kind of come back here, as well as our infrastructure. This middle group tends to be our human services and mass care table, and that fills out with our county human services, Red Cross, a number of other volunteer organizations.
What the posse does, we do a multitude of things. We are a group of highly trained volunteers that usually ride horseback. We offer mounted security, we offer expertise with large animals, so we can go into a disaster area, evacuate horses, mules, llamas, sheep, pigs, whatever livestock is out there that needs to come out of that disaster. And then we take care of them in an evacuation center, providing vet care, 24-hour security, food, water, anything that animal needs in order to get through that disaster.
Really what I'd like the community to know what the posse does is one, they're highly trained volunteers. They provide all their own equipment from their trucks, their trailers, their horses. Really, most of all, I want them to know that whenever we evacuate their animals, we really take care of them. We make sure that their medical needs are met. We work with CSU Vet Hospital to ensure that they're being checked on every day.
We work with the Emergency Operations Center, the EOC, to provide emergency sheltering for animals for anyone that had to evacuate their homes during a wildfire or just type of flooding. Anyone that has to be sheltered in a shelter with the Red Cross, not all of them unfortunately are able to accept animals, so we open up our shelter to all these animals so we can provide emergency sheltering during that time.
So yeah, up front we have our Health and Medical Services branch, who is, they fill out that front table. So that tends to be our hospitals and other groups, even our behavioral health folks as well can kind of fill in there. These two middle tables here we have the PIOs, which is the Public Information Officers, as well as our liaisons. So those liaisons could be from other municipalities, because we're the county regional EOC. But we have, you know, Fort Collins, we have Estes Park, we have other state, federal partners that come in, volunteer organizations, whatever. So any liaisons would fill out that table, and our PIOs would as well. This table here is logistics and finance.
So we support all of the sections throughout the EOC when it pertains to any type of purchases, but mainly I work closely with logistics and the buying team. I basically pay for the purchases that come through the logistics section, so they will resource the items that are needed, and then I will make sure that we're being fiscally responsible with county funds and tracking all of those purchases as well.
So logistics section is in charge of getting the stuff. So I get the resource orders from the field, from our EOC personnel, from about anyone who's touching this event, and I track if it's a reasonable request, where we can get it, if we already have a contract, or playing the Google game and finding it somewhere, and then tracking it to there, making sure it gets there safely and then comes back. So I am partnered very intimately with finance, make sure the county doesn't spend a bunch of extra money where we're not supposed to.
So ops does things, logistics gets things, and finance section is also with that table, and finance section pays for things.
What I would like the community to most know about what the Emergency Operations Center does is that there is 100 or more, 100, 200 people that are working in the background to help support the incident and to support the community as a whole, whether it's public information management, whether it's getting resources, or whether it's supporting the emergency responders in the field. And nobody ever sees those people. They're always in the background making sure that the systems work. And so that's really what the Emergency Operations Center does anytime that it's activated.